Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant podcast. My name is Brett Endies. I am a professional dog trainer. This podcast is for you if you are a dog owner seeking dog training and behavior advice. If you are a client of mine and you'd like to supplement the information and what we work on in the real world, and if you're just anyone interested in dog training, dog behavior, life and rants of a professional dog trainer, this podcast is for you. I always ask, please don't forget, rate, review, share, subscribe. Let people know that the podcast has helped you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I also offer online training sessions. You can contact me at dogtrainingla@gmail.com. They work out great. I can coach you through real world scenarios and help you with your dog training and behavioral needs. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Let's go right into it. So, as a trainer for many, many years, you talk to dog owners, you hear what's out there, you even hear stories of people and dog owners who've had other training and the interpretations made in those situations. And you draw a lot of conclusions, not because you have your own confirmation bias ways of thinking, which a lot of humans and almost more in proportion in the animal community have. Everyone's self-righteous. People aren't willing to just work on the craft and learn from those and the animals in front of them, those before them with more experience, because everyone has an opinion, and that's okay for dog owners to make. That's why people like us exist, people to help get dog owners to see and implement what's needed to help with their dog's training needs, right? But when you're a professional, and even then some owners, once you explain reason and demonstrate a better route and interpretation to make towards your dog or puppy, most people who can get it, they see the results, they see their dogs are only better off, and their lives are easier with their dog. It's the people who want to continually let their emotions drive them, even when the expert is explaining clearly, demonstrating, and then of course the way that person's thinking is causing their dog's issues. Or with people who are so hell-bent on the purely positive movement that they can't see that there's a limitation to, only handling training, behavior, communication with the dog from one perspective, right? And that's because people will just polarize it based on an emotion, the whole dogs, you're being a bully, abusive, whatever it may be. But it's driven by something that has nothing to do with what the dogs are, how they're seeing it, how they interpret, their surroundings, the relationship you would have with them. And that's what I want to just talk about a little bit, just some common things that a lot of people or other trainers who subscribe to a certain way of thinking, that they make that isn't quite what it is, or even like approaches to training that are so simplistic. It's probably a better way to explain it, just being so simplistic because it's an easier way to address, it's just like human psychology. There's a depth to why people do what they do, and to understand yourself or why others do what they do and are motivated by psychologically, it takes a lot of analysis, probably not comfortable thoughts and realizations to occur. So it's easier to just, well, that's just how they are, he's just this, or just simplifying it to like the nth degree to just deflect it completely. And people do this with animals too. So an example, like one of the biggest ones is people will make an excuse for a dog's behavior because of its breed. Well, I had a case on, they have a Great Pyrenees, and dog's doing well, but it's like, well, I read online that they say this is just how Great Pyrenees are. They're going to be too alert and they're going to bark at everything. It's like, no, your dog is just too hypervigilant, like any other dog of any breed can be. Hasn't had rules, boundaries, and structure clearly defined consistently. And they're acting out because they're wired to be alert to everything. And that's a good thing, right? That's what you want. It's a good skill in a dog. And certain breeds have a potential to be a little more hypervigilant or alert, but you still can condition and train and put them in a position where they don't feel overly responsible by having the right type of relationship and conditioning them to be so that's a big one. Anyway, without going too off on that, a lot of people will make an excuse. Well, Shiba Inus are just going to be aggressive. You can't train a small dog. Small dogs can't be potty trained, like things like that. Overly simplistic, telling you as a guy who's trained many, many thousands of dogs for many, many years, of all shapes, sizes, breeds, and histories, that's not the pattern I'm seeing, nor is any other experienced trainer who I know. It's just a human interpretation, and the mind's eye tells us to think of something. And then, again, we're allowed to do that. It's not like that's a criticism. It's just when someone who has the experience and the insight to say, hey, wait a minute, that's not quite how it is, and then you want to defend this to the death with the person who's actually trying to help you with the knowledge, which I get sometimes, right? A lot of people, they can be, they just have their way, and then when I explain, I think I have a way of articulating this. If you listen to the podcast enough times, I think I'm good at painting a picture of a dog's experience and why we implement the training we do and what's going on, to create the effects we're looking for. But that's a hard sell for people. Like, even like people like, oh, why can't my dog go on the bed? I like my dog on the bed. It's like, because it's contributing to your dog having an equal relationship with you instead of feeling like a dog with limited responsibilities so they don't have to have anxiety all day, right? It's breaking the proximity. It's also you, like, as a human, can you show some discipline because we're expecting this in your dog? So that's another one. People, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They'll almost like, as like a bargaining chip, say, hey, Brent, look, I did this training. I did the structured walk. I did the place training. Now I want to let my dog crawl over me on the furniture or sleep with me or, whatever it might be. Indulgent things that aren't, at least when you're going through training and you're not in the clear, you probably have to be more aware of and not indulgent. Things that maybe I do with my dogs because I've trained them and they're good and everything's all established. I can be more lenient. I don't have to be commanding them all the time to get them to see, the time and place of when things happen, so they can be patient, calm, when they share their life with me at home. So that's another thing, the emotion to what we want to do, to have our cake and eat it too mindset. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of people, the harness, the collar thing, I've talked about that so many times. It's, they see a pinch collar. And I myself, years ago, I used to use choker chains thinking they were better because they made me feel like they were safer because I didn't even want to entertain what a pinch collar was. The person who taught me how to train was a choker chain. And other methods, he didn't really use pinch collars, which are way safer. If you've worn one, the ones that are made the right way, they don't hurt, they're just pressure, and they actually make a dog walk better, focus more, not put stress on their body. But the harnesses, again, we talk about this a lot on this podcast, people feel that's safer, that's better, but they're pulling back and they're exacerbating things like reactivity, lunging, pulling, because of the nature of what harnesses do and the opposition reflex that it causes. Again, when you explain to people and you show them the pinch collar, and look, I have to recommend Star Mark collars or a martingale where I know darn well a metal pinch collar would get the job done and we're moving on, but I know the client, right? Some clients, like, they start with a pinch collar. I'm like, oh, okay, we just got to teach them to use it, maybe get a different one. But this person, I don't have to qualify my humanity when I tell them to use the proper training tool. They get the merit in it. They see their dog is fine, and they understand that the communication is not going to be human-type communication where we can use language. Dogs are more physical. Dogs use pack, hierarchy, which a lot of people are, don't say exists, and they bite at each other, not with the intent to cause harm or physical pain. They just nip to correct and create physical boundaries, and we use it in the context of training properly. It only benefits the dog. But that's a biggie, right? And again, myself, I understand what causes it, but when someone explains it, shows it, they should be able to open their mind and trust the messenger who has the experience to explain the merit of what tool we're using. And doctors go through this and they recommend protocols or things for the issues humans have, mentally and physically. But yeah, I use the Star Mark collars a lot because I know at least we're going to get some control and I can get the dog off the harness, despite the fact that it's really, the dog could just use a pinch collar and we're, but the owner's gonna, they're gonna have a heart attack if I present it to them. So I know that client, right? So that's the thing. But if someone's demanding the harness and they won't deviate from that, I'm done. I had one guy, I'll tell you, last episode I talked about my Hollywood, I'll add another one. This guy's name is Robert Thorne. You can look him up. He's the guy who basically monetized the Olsen twins. He's kind of part of that Full House crew that somehow I'm a little bit part of. Funny story too, Jody Sweeten reached out to me 2 days ago in email. I think because I said, oh yeah, I trained those two guys' dogs. She didn't get back to me. They don't like me to drop names in Hollywood, but I don't give a shit anymore. But anyway, so he was one. I trained one of his dogs a few years prior, and I liked the guy. He really connected. He was cool. We talked, shot the shit. But when it came to his dog in the harness, whatever it's him or his wife, he was just so, and I kept explaining, you're a smart man. Why can you not see what I'm trying, what's going on here? Why the harness is only causing the issues that you're hiring me to help you with? And my track record would never, look, you know who I am, you know what I do, right? We had mutual people we knew and clients that he was friends with, I've worked with, and him again in the past. Anyway, so these, and again, I just said I'm going to give you a refund for the rest of the month, the lessons that you had paid for in the package, and we're going to be done because it's not worth it. I tried. I gave him the spiel that I give everyone else, and most people see reason, and they always thank me for helping them see that, but he just couldn't. So but that was that's the type of thing. Is a lot of people there, they just don't want to. They think a harness is better, and I tell people if your dog is very low reactive to stimuli, your dog walks, you don't have any issues related to that, use a harness. I don't care if your dog keeps a loose leash and it's not triggering pulling or putting stress on their body physically. Harnesses if you teach your dog to pull, but people can't, they just put a harness on my dog, it's safer, nothing on the neck, I don't want to see BDSM shit on my dog. That's his too. We have weird traumas and abuse histories and victim crap, and then they just project it onto their animals and their kids and others. So it's just what happens, right? So it's just I have to be the guy who kind of has to stay stoic in my ability to show reason and demonstrate the merit in these things that go against the grain of people's emotions. Okay, boy, that's kind of cathartic just saying these things that I think about a lot. Let's see, is there another example of what people do? Yeah, crate training. People project that it's jail or prison, or they'll just think that their dog is exclusive to how dogs just are. Well, my dog just doesn't. It doesn't work that way. Even with people, we're a little more individualistic than we think we are than we really are. We're still all humans. We have basic instincts and wants and needs and things like that. But dogs, even more so. We just individualize them because there's breeds and because they're our dog. It's my dog. My dog is special, right? That's what we get. That people do. They'll think, well, my dog just doesn't like the crate. My dog needs pee pads to go out. My dog just can't hold it. That's horseshit because I've seen 8-week-old puppies many, many times over hold their bathroom even at night because they realize if they don't go, the crate's waiting for them till the morning, and they're going to have to hold it then, so they take care of business to completion and they learn to hold it through the night. So if you have a 3-year-old dog that you just have been accommodating and you're telling me why and there's no medical issue, that's again another emotional block that doesn't let you see what's really going on to help your dog's training and behavior needs. Let me think here. These podcasts, I just riff here thinking of just what to talk about. So let me think of another one where people get that way. Oh yeah, the rescue, the history, the dog was living on the streets, dog was living on a dog. I get it. That sucks. I would, let me at those people who do those horrible things to animals. But your dog's now living with you in Beverly Hills. Your dog's fine. It's over. Your dog's not going to have that history. They're not that complex psychologically where they have to hang on to their past to cope with their present and future. So if you can say, hey, now it's different. Now your needs are going to get met. And there's a lot of training. There's even some growing pains and stress a dog has to go through to realize that their needs are going to get met in a different way than what they very well could have had confirmed is what kept them alive if they were living on the street or a less than optimum situation. But again, a lot of them will make excuses for why they don't train the dog, why they don't create rules, why they let the dogs do what they do because they're a rescue or they had a past. But I see people do this. They have a 10-week-old puppy that was just like the mother got picked up with the puppies, not born yet, or the mother just had the puppies on the street, and the puppies they're 2 months old. There's no abuse. They're a rescue puppy. It's a puppy. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, they want to, it's weird. It's victim mentality. I don't live by it in my own world. I have a daughter with autism. I don't let her play that card. I don't play that card as a person who's a parent with autism. That's why I don't, when someone says, I don't want to put a couple weeks into my dog's training, I'm like, listen, I'm still in it. I put in many, many years with a human, which is a lot more commitment and psychologically involved and physically and financially, involved than a dog that if you do some work, where my daughter's always going to struggle and I have to always be there for her. Where your dog, you can just, and that to me, that's even, I think, what makes me a good dog trainer is I don't tolerate nonsensical excuses. Everyone's had a hard life. We've all been through it, me included. You just keep moving forward, and the more you make excuses, which I've done too, it doesn't help anyone. It just, and there's people that'll placate that. Oh, I know it's been, you know what? Stay away from those people. They're not going to help you grow. What do you want to live in excuses to the day you die? And people do that with their poor dogs, and the dogs can't help themselves. It's not like a human can go fix themselves, eat better, change their career, get mental help, whatever it is. A dog, it's up to us and the owner and whatever. And if you're an owner who rescued a dog, that's wonderful. You're a great person, which I think too many people virtue signal that I own a rescue. That means I'm a good person. LA is filled with that. But nonetheless, now you're obligated to do what the dog needs. And I saw a lady recently, she took on a rescue. It was like a 10-month-old Australian Shepherd. I did a Zoom call with her. Dog, needed some work, had some separation anxiety developing, but again, a month, put in the time, and your dog will be good for 15 years. Didn't want to do it. It was all frustrated. I'm like, listen, lady, you're not preaching to the right choir here, because the fact of the matter is I've been through way more. It's like, again, so that's just nice people's own like spoiled attitude or whatever it is gets in the way too. So that's another version of how sometimes dogs don't get help because of human limitations. Let me see. I think that's a good wrap up there. It's good examples. Sometimes I hit record and don't know what I'm going to talk about till I start this intro for you. Thanks for listening. Everyone else, please, if you're new, you can go back. I've got now 91, almost 100 episodes. Plus tons of videos on my YouTube channel. I post stuff on Instagram at the Dog Savant. I had a show called The Untrainables on Facebook Watch. If you look it up, there's plenty of dog info I've put out there, plenty of other good trainers putting info. You can help your dog. And don't forget, if the show has helped you, please rate, review, share, subscribe, iTunes, anywhere else you may be listening. Tell a friend, let me know, ask a question, and by all means, I'd love to help you personally. So if you would like a training session with me, contact me. We can do a Zoom or FaceTime session. There's more information about that on my website. You can go on my Colorado site. It's gooddogcolorado.com. If you're in the Los Angeles area, it is dogtrainingla.com. And if you'd like individual training, boarding, or boarding and training services, I am available in the Denver metro area of Colorado. As you know, I relocated here earlier this year, and because of COVID, I am now here for the long haul. All right, thanks again. Have a good day, and train and love your dogs.